Hello, and welcome to Narrative Live. I was going to say I'm Batman, but of course I can't pull that off. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Spooktacular, our first ever Spooktacular. How's everyone doing today?
I feel pretty fucking good, Zev. Pretty fucking good.
Everyone's excited tonight. Everybody's excited tonight. This mask is really digging into my eyes, but that'll be interesting. Who should I introduce here? I don't even know who you all are. The person formerly known as LB, who are you tonight?
I'm just that fly.
You're just the
Mike
fly.
Pence's head.
And the famous morning fly conversations that you do. Oh my God, is that Mr. Soprano? I think it's Mr. Soprano over there. Has he taken Greg Oliar and replaced him with Mr. Soprano?
It's Soprano because we live in fucking Jersey, not goddamn fucking Europe, for one thing. Second of all, I'm not going to say who I am because then I would have to find you and fucking kill you. You understand? You
know where I am.
My meaning?
You know where I am. I'm in Gotham. You can always find me in Gotham. It's good to have you here. We need a mafia expert, actually, because there's lots of mob conversation
you hear the ice cream truck?
to be had. Is there? What?
There's an ice cream truck outside my house.
Oh, no, I don't hear it.
I'm going to mute it.
Can you get us some? It is a party, after all. Eric, I'm not sure what you're dressed as today, except Eric?
I'm dressed as a normal American, able to have a conversation about local sports teams.
Okay. And the sports team is a Canadian sports team. You said no. What is the team? Is that?
No, this is if you want to really get in my this is the St. Louis Blues, and I'm really a Montreal Canadien guy. So there you go. Well,
tonight's a special night. We're going to do.
You're in Canada. You're in Canada. You got to know what I just said.
I know. I'm so bad at the hockey, as I call it. But I'm glad some people like it and play it.
The hockey.
So tonight we're going to celebrate some of the people who've been working really hard for the last 4 years to try and expose Donald Trump. Not in anticipation that Donald Trump's going to lose. We don't know that yet. We suspect he will. We hope he will. But we're not having that kind of celebration. But we are going to have to celebrate a bunch of our heroes over the last 4 years. You're some of them, of course, the three of you. But let me bring in someone else who's a big hero of mine and all of yours for telling everyone about coronavirus before anybody else did. Dina Grayson. Hello, how are you?
Yay!
Hey guys, thanks for having me on.
Hey!
It's so nice to see you. It's been a while. Actually, the last time I had you and LB on the show together, LB was still a voice. We hadn't convinced her. We haven't coaxed her out of the onto camera yet. And now look at her. She's very comfortable.
She's molting.
That's all Dina's fault. It is all the good doctor's fault. She convinced me. She worked on me. She worked me. Well,
it all worked. So
it's all her fault.
Thank you, Dina. We love you for that. The coronavirus, it's a horrible thing to be right about, but you were right about it, and you still are right about it. And it's been taking everyone. I don't know how you describe it anymore. It's such a calamity. Today there was a bit of news around that, and LB, you were the one who raised it again. That there he is, Donald Trump, making this new allegation. Can you remind everyone what that allegation is, and let's see if Dina has a reaction to that.
Yeah, I actually, Dina and I haven't spoken about this, so I'm really curious to hear what you have to say about. There's a couple things that we learned recently from some journalists, some journalists that were really on the story of how Dr. Birx had gone in and moved the reporting. Hey, guys, I got to take this off. Hang on.
But it's so amazing.
It's a good gag. It's a good gag.
I'll put it back on. I can't.
Hi, there she is. She molted again, right in front of our eyes.
You did a good reveal.
A good reveal. So the reporting is that, and it's solid. This is the real reporting, that the collection of data, of hospitalization data, was taken by hospitals, and they would give it to the CDC.
That's correct.
Mid-pandemic, at the beginning of the pandemic,
this is right. The White House.
In comes Dr. Birx, and she orders them to start giving it to a different company, a new company, as far as we can tell, in terms of doing this kind of work, very complicated work. Like, to take this away from the CDC in the middle of the pandemic, it is obscene to begin with. It's the last thing you want to do. But give it to a company that actually has people who are from Trump's orbit, from his real estate orbit, and from his his political orbit, donors, their company, Teletracking, and let them be the ones to collect the data about hospitalizations. And we went from having a margin of error of maybe 5 or 10%. Eric has got those stats, to all of a sudden a 50% margin of error in terms of the actual data being reported in and being tracked by this new company, and then being able to be reported out for all of us for the federal response of just knowing who's in the hospital and what state they're in the hospital. Now, all of that, you then have to look at the other shit that's going on with this thing coming out of Donald's face, right? Because what the reporting also included was that these hospitals were, by Dr. Birx, being threatened that they weren't going to get their funding, they weren't going to get the Medicaid, they weren't going to get this. The federal government does reimburse them in money for the Medicaid if they didn't put all get all their data, Medicare, yeah. Right? If they didn't get all their data into this real estate guy's database now. And so there was this threat coming down on hospitals to report. Well, what does Donald do with that? He goes out on the campaign trail and he says, hey, doctors are making money off of COVID deaths. That's what this is all about. Because they were fucking extorting these hospitals and these doctors and then spinning it as if the doctors and hospitals wanted all these deaths to be reported so they could get money that was being withheld from them if they didn't put the data in this data company that is owned by Donald's cronies.
I think there's a bigger picture right here going on, and it's really these are not very, look, we know they're really corrupt, but these are not very smart people. Trump is very clear about, he projects, he tells you exactly what he's going to go do, right? He said, for example, don't vote by mail, people. Can't trust that, because why? Look at what he's trying to do in the courts, okay? With this virus, what has he said all along? It's going to go away, like a miracle. It's going to go away. And well, the reason why we have so many cases is because we do too much testing, right? He ignores the fact that we have these sky high hospitalization rates that are actually going up, that we have this sky high death toll that's going up. He ignores that. So we knew at the time that the CDC lost control of the database for collecting the cases, the hospitalizations, very dangerous thing, right? And we know that HHS, right? Who is filling that? Michael Caputo as the spokesperson. I mean, right? What does this guy know about healthcare? I mean, come on. And this was a bunch of political cronies. So the idea here was to politicize a virus. So they've right, and it's because Trump knows it's really bad. And this is not a guy who's ever led anything. This is not a guy who's ever really accomplished anything. He inherited a bunch of money. He blew it, right? He declared bankruptcy a bunch of times. I mean, he launders money and he cheats taxes. He's pretty good at that, at least for now, right? So what my bottom line here is that what he's done is politicize this and spin the data. He keeps trying to spin it. Remember the CDC, they were yanking around their website saying things that, these are only 6% of the cases or deaths are actually, the total number of deaths is only 6% of what's being reported, because these people had heart disease. Well, it's just nonsense. They've tried to spin the data. And that's very clear. It does not surprise me that in trying to do that, their overarching goal here was to, of course, Jared Kushner, make this into a PR crisis. Does this surprise me that they would pick one of their cronies to do it? Of course not, because you got to pick somebody not only who's going to be corrupt, who's willing to try to spin the data. So none of this surprises me. As to how they accomplish it, definitely I don't want to point any fingers as yet, but certainly there are plenty of people around Trump who aided and abetted really what has resulted in the death of almost 250,000 Americans.
And we're on track to lose a lot more. I mean, the more this data is corrupted, as I understand it, the more tenuous the situation becomes, because we're not sure exactly how many people in the hospitals need what treatments or therapies or
PPE, right?
Yeah, all those things that are so necessary. And so, there's an estimate out there that there's going to be 3,000 people a day dying by the end of the year. That's an insane amount.
That's not, what, Zev, here's the, scary thing. I mean, that's not out of the realm of possibility. Now that would, I think, still be on the high end right now. Remember that deaths also lag hospitalizations, which lag cases, which lag test positivity. Remember, Trump keeps saying, I don't want to test. We do too many tests. But actually, the most sensitive indicator is tests. If you look at the positivity rate, that always comes first. And then what happens? You hit the young people. You get these cases in the young people. And we keep hearing this right-wing talking point. Oh, it's just the young people. You know, for the most part, they don't really have serious consequences or death. Well, we don't know about the long-term issues of this virus in young people. And we also do know, though, is that young people spread it to older people. And, you know, only 1% of the people in this country are living in, you know, extended care facilities. But those people in long-term care facilities, nursing homes, they are responsible for a substantially higher proportion of deaths because they're frail. So this is this awful herd immunity, herd mentality nonsense that is being pushed. Don't test, don't look, don't see, let it spread. And you know what? If we, you know, we'll just somehow magically keep it out of the nursing homes because no one goes in and out of nursing homes like the workers. It's crazy. It's crazy. And it's resulted in so many deaths.
What he says about doctors getting paid more for every COVID death, is there any truth to that at all?
No, it's nonsense. And the AMA just came out, the American Medical Association just came out and torched Trump for this. It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. I mean, you know, the cause of death, people who are older have what we call comorbidities. Okay. We know that there are risk factors, underlying illnesses. Those are called comorbidities, like heart disease. They go into the hospital, not because they have heart disease, but because they're sick with COVID. Now, that heart disease may increase their chance of getting sick with COVID, but they're sick. They've got COVID and they get treated for COVID. And if they die of COVID, that's a COVID death. They don't get paid anymore. I mean, that's not how this works. I mean, it's insanity. And what the doctors want is they want actually transparency of the data. Remember, when this is a brand new virus, where was the CDC? Where was the HHS? Why weren't the scientists briefing the community? Because remember, as much as lay people want the information and data, most of all, we want our doctors and hospitals to know the accurate information about how this virus is spread. And instead, the hospitals were left on their own. I mean, imagine down here in Florida, we have Governor DeSantis, okay? Hospitals left on their own to figure out what are going to be their infectious protocols, right? That's really, and that's very inefficient too, right? Think about it. If we have really real-time information with guidance, very clear guidance coming from the CDC that's not politically motivated, especially for experts to protect our healthcare workers. I mean, we've had way too many hundreds. I believe the number is 1,500 now, at least, of healthcare workers have died. I believe it's actually even closer to 2,000, right? I mean, these are heroes that are going in there, right? And so, and also, you know, you have examples now, for example, in Belgium, guys, okay? In Belgium, in Liège, one of the cities in Belgium, 25% of the healthcare workers are infected, out on sick leave with COVID. And no, it's worse. They're asking them to work if they don't have symptoms because otherwise their hospitals will collapse. That's how bad it is. So when you talk about not sharing data in real time, Zev, there are real life consequences. People die. And what we're seeing is now field hospitals, right? Where El Paso, Milwaukee already, and it's still October, guys. And we know these cases are going to explode, and we're seeing field hospitals already. And we only have so many ventilators. It's not just going to be in New York this time.
Yeah, and New York it was engulfing. Remember that wave that took over New York was stunning. I mean, no one expected it. It came out of the blue, and it, you know, from 1 minute to next.
Some people expected it, Zev. That's the problem. The people that I expected, I predicted it, and I predicted this wave. I did, and I predicted this.
Every step along the way you've been. I got a text from you in January, February, early saying, I'm very concerned this is going to be a pandemic. I think this is a pandemic. When it was all we knew was that there was something weird going on in Wuhan. That's all we had.
I started telling people in December. I started telling people in December before the end of the year. Eric, I know you and I talked about it. I actually told my husband, I said, look, this is really bad. This was like before New Year's, between, you know, sort of the end of the year. And the reports I'm hearing are really concerning. I'm not going to say anything publicly yet, but I'm hearing WHO substantiated reports that were extremely concerning. And I knew the size. It was in an urban area of 11 million people. And it appeared to be a respiratory virus. And what really for me was the most chilling is when that report of the first group of patients came out. Patient 0 had no connection to the seafood market.
Right.
1/3 of those 42 patients or so, 41 patients had no connection to the seafood market. That was telling me it was very alarming, and it just reinforced what we were seeing. And remember, I kept telling everyone, forget what China says, watch what they do. And then boom, they started building that field hospital in January. So Zev, when you say things like, well, no one expected it, actually we saw the nightmare in China. We saw Italy got hammered, then Spain, it just came. We saw what was happening in Seattle. And people were screaming. The problem is we didn't have federal leadership listening to the experts. You know, I'm not getting classified briefings by military, medical intelligence. We have, all kinds of incredible experts and scientists in our government. I've been very fortunate to work with a number of agencies in this area, and we have extremely qualified, capable people. And this is what they do. They look for emerging threats, and you want the earliest of warning signs. You plan for the worst and you hope for the best, because if you don't, and you give the virus any advantage, it wins and people die. And that's what we keep seeing time and time again. Look at the waves, right? They're going up and up and up, because our baseline, we headed into this fall and winter, averaging over 40,000 new cases a day. So Zev, as bad as it was in New York, now we see what's going to happen. We are seeing exponential explosion of new cases. We're seeing hospitalizations soaring. The death toll already is starting to tick up, and that's the lagging indicator. We have places like North Dakota where over 40% of people are testing positive for the virus. That is uncontrolled viral spread, right? I believe, South Dakota.
Right.
We have uncontrolled viral spread across most of the country right now. We know that Trump rallies are causing outbreaks.
Yeah, it really is a super spreader event. He's on a tour. Yeah. He's on a COVID tour.
He's on a death tour.
It's what it seems
He's
like.
on a death tour.
Guys, I gotta just drop off the screen for a second, but I'm gonna let you guys keep talking while I go find our next guest, because he may be here. In fact, I hear the doorbell. Can you hear the doorbell? I can hear the doorbell. So Eric, and why don't you ask a question to Dina, and I'll be back shortly.
Has to say. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wait a second. I've lost somebody here. Let me put Dina back in here.
Oh, you lost Dina.
I'm back.
There we go.
It's magical. It's Halloween.
No, it's trick or treat. Oh shit!
Party foul.
Party foul.
We used to have Halloween parties like this in DC. So
perfect.
Whoa.
You're kicking it.
Eric, right, my friend, what's going on?
All right.
So, I was just going to say, I actually don't have any questions, just because you and I have been talking about this since the beginning. Everything you see these guys doing, it's not just, people are saying it's incompetent. It's not. It's the opposite of competent. It's literally everything you could possibly do to kill as many people as possible. It's one of the darkest events in American history.
Purposeful.
Yeah. It's pretty rough.
You know what? Look, COVID is now the third highest, leading cause of death in this country. The third highest in the country. And we're entering flu season. We lost nearly 250,000 Americans. And actually the real count right now is probably about 300,000, right? That's the estimates, because of all the undercounting, not overcounting of deaths, especially in New York and other places when that first major wave. And, you look at that and you think, we had nearly 250,000 people who died when it was not flu season. Okay, that should chill every person in this country. That should send a chill down your spine, because now we're heading into the worst possible conditions with, like you said, this isn't just incompetence, it's malfeasance, right? It's gross negligence. You're holding super spreader rallies, mocking masks that we know work. You're jamming people close in. We know that people are getting infected at these rallies. They did this at the White House. They infected, you're not, it's not just, think about it, just big picture. You're not just threatening, like Mr. Trump's being stupid to himself or his family. His whole family got infected. But he's also putting the leadership of our country at risk from a deadly virus. We haven't seen people like Bill Barr in quite a while. Where'd he go? So he's holding these events and putting people's lives at risk. Older men, right? Some of them a little heavier around the middle, probably have some heart disease rolling around in there. So we're talking, these aren't low risk individuals, and they, like it or not, and I don't like it, and I know you guys don't like it, These are the leaders of our country. So you don't risk the leadership of your country altogether with the president and vice president together. They're rarely seen together, guys. I've been to multiple events at the White House. Never once was the vice president there because you separate them. It's not good to have them at the same place. It's not good for continuity of leadership. And we're in the middle of a deadly pandemic. They had a maskless event at the White House where part of it was conducted indoors. That appears to be likely where a lot of the super spreading happened, was indoors. Yeah. Pence was not inside as far as I know, like meeting and greeting. So that might be maybe why he got unscathed. I don't know.
But now he might have it.
Well,
now he
his
might
whole
have
office
it.
is a hot zone, and he had pink eye at the debate. I mean, it's just a hot mess, right? So you're right, Eric. It's not just incompetence; it's malfeasance.
Fly out his head.
This guy is the head of the coronavirus task force. He hasn't even attended a meeting in a month, and we are averaging over 75,000 cases per day right now. We are going to set another record today. We're likely going to be above 90,000 cases today. And we are going to skyrocket and blow past 100,000 very, very soon. That's where we are at, my friends. It's terrible.
What can people do? I mean, I'm just sorry to interrupt the conversation there, but what can people do? Because it's like it's frightening. But beyond just safeguarding yourself. Vote, yes, absolutely.
Vote. Bring your water, wear your mask, vote, get 3 friends to vote. We don't look at polls. Don't look at the banked votes because we know the Republicans are going to do whatever they want, whatever they can, especially in swing states like I live in Florida. What are they going to try to do? Invalidate votes, suppress our votes. But we have more of us. If everyone votes, go vote. If you can and you're young and healthy, wear your mask, vote in person. Highly recommended. If not, drop off your ballot in person, right? Do whatever you can.
But you could be putting yourself at risk. I mean, it's to be, yes, you should wear a mask and all that. But if you're an older, especially man,
as I said, if you're young and healthy, then
don't
try to vote in person. But otherwise, agreed. I mean, but make sure that that ballot gets counted. I mean, I called my election supervisor's office.
There's so many ballots missing. It's crazy as well.
I want to know. I mean, right. So that's what we can all do. I think obviously people are doing this.
Because Dina doesn't mess around.
That's right.
Wow. Well, that was not the fun way I thought tonight's show was going to be about. But it's. Go ahead, Eric.
So important. Yeah,
it's so important. So great to have you on, Dina.
Go ahead, Eric. You see, you have the fabulous comedian coming on here pretty soon.
We do have someone who's you're fabulously funny though under every circumstance. But right now, as we started the show, quite a serious topic. Eric or Greg, any last questions for Dina or anything you want to add? Because you've been kind of.
Hi, Greg. I'm
Hi,
sorry.
how are you?
Tony, how are you?
I'm not so bad. I think the whole thing is a fucking hoax, if you ask me. Kidding, joking. That's a joke. I do have a question. This is really geeky, but South Dakota has the 43% rate of people who take the test. 43% of them test positive. Yep. Do you think that has to do with the fact that there are so few people in South Dakota, and the only people going to get tested are ones that are already exhibiting symptoms? I mean, how do you read that percentage-wise? Does that make sense? I'm trying to.
Yeah, it says a couple of things. I mean, you have to look at the amount of testing that they're doing, right? So are they doing enough testing? But regardless, what we do know, and Greg, you can certainly take it to the bank, is when you see testing positivity that high, you know that you're not capturing a fair amount of cases. So for every case you're capturing, there may be 10 other cases circulating in the community, right? Depending on the number of tests. So it's certainly well above what they're detecting, which is actually even worse, right? Because now there's people are walking around, don't know they have it, they're spreading it. That's how you get the exponential growth. So that is why you look at that testing positivity. If they tested 2 people, sure, you say, well, that's pretty bad, or 3 people, whatever, to get 45%. But I'm not doing my math well. It's nearly Halloween, but you understand what I'm saying. But it's a small sample size, 9 people, then, okay, well, 4 people test positive. What does that really mean? But they're doing, they're actually testing in that state. And we know that there have been super spreader events there. We also know that they don't wear masks.
Sturgis.
Right?
Someone just put that on Periscope, one of our followers, Dina, was reminding that we have the Sturgis motorcycle event.
Absolutely. Well, that's one of the biggest super spreader events in the country. And if you look at where it spread to, it's all that upper Midwest area. And I remind people that, these are swing states. And, this is the thing that I don't think I said this back in March, and you guys know this, right? I said, look, Trump can't spin death. He can't. And, the Republicans are great at fear mongering. That's one of they're really good at this stuff, right? That's what they do. And in this case, I said, fear is a motivator. People get scared, they go vote. Well, people are scared. They think it's crazy that we've got a leader, a lot of people, that is downplaying something that they know. That because enough people, I'm here in a small town in Florida. Everybody knows somebody who's been in the hospital or died of the illness already, and we don't have we're not like smoking hot zone, like, right? Older people, high risk. I mean, this is the problem now for Mr. Trump, is that a majority of people, not everybody, but a majority of people now know someone who has gotten sick and or has died, and people are afraid, and you can't convince people not to be afraid for their own well-being, right? I mean, and older people vote. I have younger people voted. This election wouldn't be close, but unfortunately, younger people don't vote yet, and older people do.
They sure do. I think a lot of young people are going to vote this time around too, as well. It seems like so many people have gone out and voted, which is fantastic. Dina, you are also one of the people who has been around on Twitter for so long, fighting the good fight on Donald Trump. And tonight's show is really also about having a little Halloween fun, but also about recognizing all the people who have been around for quite a while. And you are really incredible in that regard. I think everyone feels the same way about you being such a hero for all of us in just shining the light on so much of what Donald Trump has done and using your voice so powerfully over the last few years. So thank you. And if I had an award, I'd give you one.
By the way, oh, stop it. You know what? No way. You know what? It's right back at you, my friends. I think that your courage and bravery, you've uncovered a lot of truths. And I think also importantly, and I think one thing, and I'm having a fly moment. Wow, that was weird. Hi, I'm Mike Pence for Halloween. I'm like, where's the fly? It just flew around. I'm like, oh my God, don't do a Pence. Seriously, guys.
Democratic.
Hey, yeah, we only have Democratic flies in this house. No, seriously, I love all of you, and I appreciate everything you're doing. And I wanted to just mention the other thing that I think is so valuable is that you're able to explain things in a way so people understand, not just the what, but why should I give a crap? Mm-hmm. And keep doing that. I think that's something, that's really critical. And you guys do a great job of telling the story. So keep it up. Thanks for having me on. I hope Dina. I come back on again soon. All right.
You're fantastic. Love you too. Thanks for coming on the show, and have a spectacular evening.
Yeah, and you know what? At some point when we get past this, we got to do this in person, guys.
Oh my gosh, that would be so nice. Wouldn't that be great?
Oh, as soon as the quarantine ends in 2035, we're there.
Bye, Dina.
Bye, guys. Happy Halloween.
Oh my gosh. She's fantastic. I adore her so much. Such a good person. It's so lovely to have her. I did feel awkward about having my mask on there, but if I took it off, I think I don't know. I don't probably never get back on.
You look amazing in that mask, Zev. By the way.
Yeah, you do. It's true.
Thank you.
It actually really works for you.
I should just wear it every day. I'm just going to do this all the time.
You really should.
Just around the house, do the vacuum cleaning, whatever. No problem. I'll do this. Did you freeze, Eric, or are you just? Are you there? You're there. You look a little bit, I don't know. You're not smiling. We're all meant to be having fun today. That's the rule. No. You can't hear us. Maybe you can't hear us. Maybe you can. I don't know.
I can hear you.
I need some music.
Knocked down the whole set. It was amazing.
I know. I missed that moment. I mean, I was here, but I missed the big part of that. Now, I was hoping for our next guest to be here, but he's here. I see him, but I don't know how to add him. Let me see if we get our next guest.
Okay. Trick or treat.
Oh, trick or treat. Hello. Who are you, sir? Oh, it's Noel Kassler.
It's
Noel! As somebody else. Who are you?
Batman.
Beard is coming in. The beard is awesome, man.
Wow, you look amazing, Noel.
I'm a cowboy tonight.
You are?
In honor of turning Tejas blue next week.
Oh yeah!
That may actually happen.
Tejas azul.
I know.
That was going to be the secret. I was actually wondering if they'd probably Bill Barr had never figured out, or Louis DeJoy had never figured out that they might have to divert the mail in Texas. I don't even know if they have that kind of voting there, but it doesn't look like they have an operation to disrupt Texas because they didn't expect it.
They don't.
We should make it really amazing.
They tried in Harris
County. It's only 39
County.
votes.
Yeah. Just Greg, this sort of leans into what you were talking about earlier about the gloom and doom of the world.
Yeah, should we cover the gloom and doom? Because I'm not about the gloom and doom. I feel I think that for a variety of reasons, starting with PTSD from 2016, which we all felt, and that night was fucking horrible. No two ways about it. And the fact that we know that they're going to cheat, and Bill Barr we haven't seen him. We don't know what he's doing. For all we know, he's physically burrowed into the internet himself to try to manipulate vote tallies. Who knows? There's all these weird conspiracy theories. There's all these fears about, the Trump MAGA militias are going to come and raise hell after the thing and this and that. And the reality is that this guy is a deeply unpopular president. He's spent the last 9-10 months trying to kill us actively, and people realize it, and they're sick of the guy and they want him gone. And every day that goes by, there's another bad story about him. His poll numbers are so bad that historically, what's his name? Spiro Agnew's ghost tweeted about this today, listed people that had run for president that had better poll numbers than Trump did at a week out, and went on to get clobbered. And those people, like Jimmy Carter in 80 is the most recent one, had better poll numbers than Trump does right now. The polling from like Cook looks really good. The betting markets look really good. Again, anything can happen. The caveats, blah, 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 blah. We've spent 4 years with the fucking caveats, okay? It's looking good. It's okay to be cautiously optimistic and to start to prepare for a reality in which Tuesday night or Wednesday morning or whatever it is, we wake up and we've won. And I think that everybody's sort of afraid. We're like, oh no, what if I curse it? What if I put a jinx on it by thinking it or saying it out loud? And I'm saying, let's speak it into existence. When people pray and a bunch of people, like millions of people together pray, they're speaking something into existence or trying to. So let's speak it into existence, and let's not be afraid. Let's not be Democrats about this fucking thing. And let's say, we're going to goddamn win. We're going to Joe Namath this shit. Okay.
I like that. Good job. Hey, did you see Donald Trump was considering
put on a fur coat? We're going to get laid after this thing.
Donald Trump's considering moving his election night party. That's the best.
That was the other thing.
That's the best sign there is.
He's going to curl up under
he's so cheap.
No, he's moving into the what?
He's hiding.
No, guys, you didn't see the update. You didn't see the update. He's going to move it to the White House because the whole thing is I'm just going to break the Hatch Act. Like the genocide wasn't enough. Like he's already headed for the Hague, but I'm going to break the Hatch Act some more. Like take a dump in the rug in there. Who knows? I mean, he's sort of out of party tricks, isn't he? You top out when you try and kill 1 million Americans.
Yeah, that would be the end of the road for you there. So. Sorry, Noel, we'd sort of diverged a little bit, but you must know a little thing about his party plans on
party plans.
I assume you have an invite.
Well, first of all, I'm with Stanley Kowalski there that he's gonna get his butt kicked on Tuesday night. We are all in shock from 2016. If 2016 hadn't happened and he had the poll numbers he had 2 weeks ago, people would be like, this is a nothing burger. Well, I'm not even watching Tuesday because I'm so confident. It would be Bill Clinton in his second term kind of election night. The thing would be over and you'd be watching a Knicks game by 9:00. But in terms of the party, he moved it because he knows he's going to lose and he knows people are going to be dancing in the street on 16th Street or wherever that hotel is. And he doesn't want to have to walk through the crowds when his kids and everybody leave at 11 o'clock. He doesn't want the walk of shame on camera. If he has it at the White House, nobody can get near and the press corps can't cover the people coming and going. But there's definitely party plans, and there'll definitely be some cocaine going down, at the White House, and it won't be the first time. I got
he was tweeting in Vegas the other day. He was at 4:30 a.m. and he was in Vegas time, and he was up in Waco doing something at 4:30 in the morning and tweeting. I'm like, what's he doing up so early in Vegas? I mean, honestly, it makes no sense.
Yeah. He never went to sleep. We've discussed it before. I mean, that's not a joke. I was never joking. I know the thing is ending now. And nobody really called him on his drug abuse, but he's a speed addict. And you saw Don Jr. on television last night. I mean, if you were pulled over and you were right, exactly, with the mouth gagging, if you did that to a cop, you'd be out of the car and they'd be searching your car and looking for a bindle in your wallet. And he's doing it with Secret Service protection, you know?
It's kind of shocking. Let me, he actually did. He say? I think last night that he said that there were almost no deaths. That was his estimate. I mean, it's kind of shocking. They're grooming him, and they say they're grooming him for a shot at the next candidacy. He'll have to be campaigning out of prison at this rate.
He's gonna run.
He will run. He's got enough stupidity to run.
You better start running now.
There you go.
You better run, baby.
Eric, you've had an enormous amount of success this week in pointing out exactly how complicated the oh gosh, I've lost my train of thought. What is it going to talk about?
Hey, well, then let me pick up there. We're talking about feel good. How have we got this?
Yeah.
Ignore the polls. So I voted today here in St. Louis County, where we have a million residents and only 5 places. And I'll just put the stuff that makes me cranky up front. That when I finally got to the place we had to vote, I haven't been in a space outside of the grocery store since like January, because I did listen to Dina in December. So any place I've gone socially I've been masked up, and it's had a lot of ventilation to it. And the place we voted was 100 feet by 80 feet. And the poll workers in there were completely just heroes. The fact that there were only 5 of these places, and that we have, schools that aren't open and basketball courts available and football fields. This was a decision to put this through this way. So that's a scandal, but there's so many Missouri government scandals you can't count. So let's talk about the good stuff. I got to my polling place. It opens at 8:00. I was there with Starbucks, 7:30, and the lines were around the buildings. And I'm not going to put that in the oh, it's terrible. Yeah, I shouldn't have had to wait an hour and a half. But once the line started moving, the heroes and the voters were heroes. But and I just looked. Everyone was moving real quick and voting, wanting to get out of there and let somebody else go through. But I just remember the whole line. And as much as we've seen like these people being COVIDiots on TV and going to some fucking bike show or the Lake of the Ozarks and all swimming together and licking each other during COVID, whatever. And this is like prime Republican white people territory for the most part. These are the people that when Ferguson was going down, they're like, oh, that's Narnia. That's so far away. Everybody was in a mask. Everyone kept 6 foot of distance. Everybody was there early for their democracy. The line was huge. Nobody complained. Everyone was really like smiling and polite. And I said to myself, these people are not here because they have been seduced by Mike Pence's charm. And they just think Ivanka and Jared are moderating influences. They did not get here. It was like 39.
Yeah, they're not.
Well, I don't know. Well,
what was that? What was that, you guys?
It could be because it was 39 degrees, and
Yeah, they floated that Mike Pence was like had so much sex appeal. What the fuck was that? You remember that?
They had a minute where they did say that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they don't want to talk about Chinese bank accounts.
It's kind of amazing that everyone's actually doing.
It was the men who said it. It was the Republican men who said it. They said, "Oh yeah, if I was a wife, I would totally love Mike." It's right. You can go look. I mean, that Schlinkter guy, whatever his name is.
Oh man.
Sphincter Kirch. You know who I'm talking about? He's on there. Anyway,
I know.
You know what's interesting is that
let's talk about the future.
Just to riff off what you were saying there about the elections and how important a process this is. I mean, it is remarkable if this all goes according to plan, and it feels like things are going fairly okay up to now, that we're all going to do this incredibly democratic thing. We're going to line up. We're going to cast our votes. We're going to have completely different opinions about the future and the path to the future, and we'll come up with some sort of decision. And it could go according to plan. We might just have a situation where one person loses and he hands over power to the other president, and there aren't none of the disaster scenarios we've all been discussing. Maybe he already realizes he's done, and maybe maybe on election night he'll say that. I mean, it is possible. But even if he doesn't, the democratic act that we're all undergoing of voting is amazing. And the fact that a country as divided as this can get out, can get in line and vote, and in order to figure out who's right and who should lead the country, that's a pretty good experience and process, and speaks a lot to the American public and what democracy is all about.
Amen.
Hear, hear.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay. And no, I'm going to say goodbye to you because I've got some other guests coming up.
No, I don't want to say goodbye to Noel.
I know. He's not going to go away. He'll still be around.
Yeah,
he's still here for us.
Yeah.
No. Tell us one last thing.
He's got the best gossip. We all know this.
Yes.
Tell us some gossip. Tell us some gossip.
Come on, Noel.
What
Give
gossip?
us the
Anything,
good.
buddy.
I don't know that. I just want to thank you guys actually for what you've done, because you guys have been speaking out here on the regular, and I want to congratulate you, Zev. 1 million views this month in a month. That's staggering.
It's all of us. You were all part of that, and it's I had to double check it actually. I was like, really, is that 1 million? That's a lot of very very great viewers who spend a lot of time watching us. So thank you to all of you.
You have loyal, informed viewers, and you guys are great hosts and co-hosts. And just thanks for having me. Everybody stay safe. Everybody get out and vote. It is a beautiful thing, like you so eloquently said. And Tuesday marks us taking this country back. When things start working the right way again. And we got a fight ahead of us like that generations faced, in the Depression and World War II. Dr. Dina just laid out a horror scheme, and think about building a field hospital in Wisconsin in January and what the logistics. I've done Super Bowls in cold weather states. Do you know how hard it is to get heated tents working? The amount of diesel fuel you have to burn just to keep people warm is going to be a health risk. So you're going to have people, but I don't want to be a buzzkill. I'm just saying we got to roll up our sleeves. Let's party Tuesday night, Wednesday. Sooner or later, he's going to get the message. He's going to be out of there. And then we're going to take this country back and do the hard work ahead of us for the next generation.
Amen to that. And you have been speaking out in a remarkable way.
Tell her.
Rock and roll, brother. Rock and roll, man.
Yeah.
Rock and
Good
roll.
job.
And fake Melania is real.
Fake Melania is real.
I want to know what exactly you mean by that. But we'll leave it at that. No, thank you so much. You're an absolutely incredible person for speaking out in the way you have, because it can't be easy in your industry. So thank you. And we'll be in touch again soon, because you'll be back on the show in no time. But have a great Halloween and vote. All right.
Thank you.
Cheers, Noel. Thanks so much for coming on. Oh,
cheers, man.
I feel like we're saying goodbye to people, but we're not really saying goodbye to people.
We're not saying goodbye, but it's a big thing, everybody. Noel is I cannot even tell you what a threat it was for him to speak out. God damn, that guy's heroic. He really is.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I mean, that industry is not kind to people who speak out against anybody, because there's sort of this unspoken rule. That's the way you are.
You're
and
dead.
He just did. He spoke out against the most powerful man in the world. And that's amazing. That is amazing. So we've got other people coming by. I just want to actually share some news with you guys, which just came in a few hours before the show started, and I was like, I'm sure is this a joke? Is this like a phishing scheme? It doesn't even sound like it's real, but it turns out it is real. So this is out of North Carolina, where I should pull up the actual story. It's basically the Trump campaign has sent a request to the Cumberland County election officials there, County Commissioner Gary Eichelberger there. He has they basically are demanding a lot of information around what kind of precautions, what kind of security is taking place during the election eve and in the counting process. And they sent an email, which the reporter actually thought it was a bit of a joke. He didn't believe it, because they wanted all this information. They wanted the process for how ballots are handled immediately after polls close, the locations that ballots are immediately sent to when polls close, including the address and the room number, the individuals who transport the ballots to the locations, the security providing during the transport, the manner that the ballots are secured at the new locations, the locations that ballots are stored, including address and room numbers. And then before and after during the canvass, the security, if any, provided during the storage, and then more the Canvas stuff, and then there is even more about the electronic voting machines, which is not here, but is definitely part of this letter. And I sent him an email because I wasn't quite sure whether he was being serious or not. And this is a legit story out of the Sentinel, and he thought it was a phishing exercise, and I don't know what to make of it. It seems like it's either. I'm
trying to read that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So, and it says that he phoned the campaign. The campaign says the person who sent the email is a volunteer with the campaign in Florida. So they're not denying that they sent it. They just made up an excuse for why they sent it. They said this is our normal procedure for making sure that things are secure. I was like, you need us to send you the details of where our ballots are being stored and the exact location and the room number on a private Gmail account? I mean, it makes no sense, and it's terrifying. So who knows what that means? Who knows why they would do that? But I thought I'd throw it up there and see what you guys thought about it. You're probably looking for that.
I mean, they're going to try stuff, but I really feel like, again, I don't want to skew too optimistic, and obviously the usual caveats: go out and vote. Nothing is guaranteed. Blah blah blah. But do they have anybody left there that knows what they're actually doing at this point? I mean, the guys that were really good at this are in jail. Manafort is in jail or under house arrest, and Stone. I just don't know. With Jacob Wall behind bars, I mean, that was the brains of this whole operation.
Hit with the Clue sued under the Clue 42 U.S. Code 1985. So 42 U.S. Code subsection 985, the Ku Klux Klan Act.
Oh,
I just don't know, who they've got left on the old bench there. Are they going to send like Aubrey Huff in with a baseball bat, or Glenn Beck or something? I don't know. I don't know who's even organizing this stuff.
Glenn Greenwald is out of a job.
But I think this is why it's so badly organized. I do actually think this came from the Trump campaign. It's so terrible that it's so terribly done that it's just some amateur, some volunteer in Florida office saying, "Well, I know."
Probably some kid that. Let's see if I can get the thing. And
Florida, you guys, I am. I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. I'm worried about Florida.
You mean with the election or the COVID?
The whole thing. I get to not be worried about Florida if Texas, in terms of election, if Texas does what it looks like Texas is about to do. But
you didn't spend enough time looking at the Cook report, LB.
Yeah, I wish I had it here. I don't have a graphic.
If you have the Cook report, you realize we don't need Florida or Texas. We're going to get them both, probably, but we don't need them.
I think it's something
I
like
have PTSD from the 2000 election. I know.
I think that they have to win Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. At least one of those. I think.
Guys, problem too.
Guys,
Pennsylvania, and Florida.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Georgia. There's a good chance of 2 Democratic senators in Georgia. That's the same as Vermont. Okay. Where they're like, hey, let's see if we can win Texas. Yes. If Florida, we've seen the videos of like boxes of ballots that haven't been cast because they're cheating because it's Florida, because it's the nexus of cocaine, Cuban intelligence, an entire, giant high rises full of Russians having babies there in their face. Probably Lev Parnas lives there. Look, we got
Roger Stone, Brad Parscale.
Florida. Roger Stone. Brad, well, how is Brad? Is he okay?
He hasn't gotten laid in a couple weeks. It's hard. It's hard times for him.
That John Ossoff speech, by the way.
Well, we don't know where he's being kept. He could be very popular.
John Ossoff is my new crush. I think that guy's amazing. He really did an amazing job at that debate.
Yeah. He found himself.
Not only are you a crook, Senator.
Nobody.
Exactly. What a good line. What a great
line. Has ever. There hasn't been a rhetorical bitch slap like that. That makes, at long last, sir, have you no decency? That makes the McCarthy hearing like, not only are you a crook, but while you could have been helping people if you weren't taking care of multiple insider trading scams and investigations. There has not been a rhetorical bitch slap that hard since Socrates. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, amazing. He did a fantastic job, and that may make the difference actually for him. He certainly is looking likely to land in the Senate. That's going to be amazing if he does. Hey, here's our next guest. Hi, Nina. Trick or treat. Sorry.
Bravo!
We don't know who's coming on, by the way. This is so great.
It's just a stream of people joining tonight. So, how you doing? Oh, wait, I can't hear you. I think you're on mute. I think you're muted. You're on mute. Uh-oh. No, I can't hear you. Maybe that's my fault. I should have gone onto the door first. So I'll do this 1 second. You guys talk for 1 second, and then I'll just talk to Nina.
Okay, well, I want to talk about the bitch slap. That was so great. I didn't know that guy. He's very different, John Ossoff, you guys, from what he was. Remember when he was trying to, was it 2018? He was trying to run, and it was all kind of awkward and strange, and he seemed like 10 years younger. Something. Yeah. That's some good shit right there. That guy he grew up. I love it.
What I loved is how much. Oh no.
Just watching Perdue, watching his soul come out of his body in real time was wonderful to behold. The only I remember, like, not to laugh about it, but after Parkland, the high school kids talked to Rubio in some event and hit him, and it was the same with Rubio. Like you could feel him just the soul just getting sucked right out of him. Except that Marco Rubio doesn't have a soul, and Perdue probably doesn't either. But Perdue just looked like he was dying. I mean, right in front of us. It was pretty awesome.
He didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And Ossoff's language there. Well, you shouldn't listen to what your handlers tell you in Washington, D.C. That anyone tickles the spook talk there. Woo, 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 woo. Are you getting near the spook talk? Was that a handler? You shouldn't listen to your handler.
So good. And then
wait. So he wasn't talking about Chelsea Handler? Okay, just making sure.
But you guys, listen.
No, more like
NRA,
case officer.
Have you noticed that the NRA just has gone poof? Has anyone noticed how that just...
Thoughts and prayers. Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers.
They did send out a tweet when Amy COVID got confirmed. The NRA did. I noticed that. Yeah.
Amy COVID?
Yeah.
Amy COVID.
Amy Muscovy Barrett, the new...
Yeah, the bigot.
Has everybody noticed that she's not voting on cases?
Yeah, I noticed that.
She's refrained from a little bit. Maybe she has a little bit of awareness outside of her, the puppet handlers on her. Of like, she's got to last for a little bit. But look, I fully expect her, if Trump has any kind of case for pushing the election to the Supreme Court, I fully expect her to not. She'll be all in on that vote. She'll get in there. She won't recuse herself from that. No way.
Well, the ones she recused, I noticed it wouldn't have mattered. It was like 5-3, right? The things that she didn't do. So even if she had been in the minority, it wouldn't have made any difference. Maybe she's trying to.
Let's ask Yoda. Let's ask him. Hang on. Let's hope he doesn't knock over my whole set. Yoda.
Greetings, Padawan.
Oh, he's talking to me.
800 years have I drank tonight.
Oh, shit. He knocked my drink over again. He knocked my drink every time. This thing has knocked my drink over twice. Unbelievable. I'm putting you away, Yoda. You are ruining my mind.
This is turning out to be like our DC... This is starting to be like our DC Halloween parties. They were
I leave you guys for 1 second. The whole place goes crazy.
That's where DC people take over.
I'm sorry.
You guys are unruly.
Do we have Nina? Is she online?
Having some pizza.
Pizza, Yoda, Nina.
I need a towel.
You need a towel.
Hey! Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can hear you. We can see you. We're all good.
I lost my headphones. I was at a chili cook-off.
You were,
and I might have won.
Oh,
Was it
Nice.
was it separated? You were separated and socially distanced chili
We were
cook-off?
socially distanced, yes. Masked, socially distanced, yes.
What's your secret to a good chili?
Although, yes, who knows? I mean, it could be the super spreader event of the Delaware River Valley, but I don't think so. Everybody was masked and distant, and it was outdoors, freezing cold.
I'm sure it'd be okay. And you won.
Yeah.
Was it turkey chili? Was it beef chili? Was it?
No, it's a beef and
chili?
pork. It's a beef and pork mole chili,
Ooh, nice.
and there
That sounds
wasn't a
actually
whole
really
lot
good.
of it left before I even got it there.
Is there a secret recipe?
There is a secret recipe, and I'll be happy to share it with you.
Okay, I'm excited.
Oh.
It's not that secret then.
It's a chocolate. You just put chocolate in your chili.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
So, Nina, have you voted yet?
I have not, but I was driving around in Pennsylvania about 3 hours ago
Oh, yeah?
because it's right across the river, and I saw dueling signs on a lot of back roads that used to be just Trump signs. I mean, there are lots of Trump signs back there on the dirt roads in Pennsylvania, but right across the road, there are signs that say Republicans for Biden.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, I was here in 2016, and just on the yard sign fervor up here, the fervor is less this year, and I think he's going to lose PA. It was terrific yesterday. Ivanka was in Waymart, which is this kind of old godforsaken coal mining town about 50 miles away from here. It was 40 degrees and freezing rain. And I thought, here they've sent her out to try to win the state that they are so far not going to be able to cheat steal, because they haven't been able to get away with that thing that they've done in Wisconsin of trying to fiddle with the timing on the ballots, which you probably have already talked about tonight.
We didn't speak so much about that. No.
Yeah, I mean, what they did in Wisconsin, what Kavanaugh did in Wisconsin, right? They're trying to do elsewhere. And I did hear you, Greg, saying that it's Roger Stone isn't around and Manafort, and okay, maybe those guys are locked up, but honestly, I think that these people have hobgoblins all over the place right now, and they're out there examining the all of their options. And I came up in covering politics in Chicago. There are a million ways to steal an election. Ooh. So you got to be careful. I mean, don't count on if you've got that many lawyers out there looking for anomaly, and if they're going to find them and they're going to bring them up to the most powerful beer drinking sobber in history, and he's going to write a ruling, then you may be stuck with this man for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, it really is once it gets, if it's a tight vote, then it's who knows what will happen, because it will end up in the courts and it will go up to SCOTUS because that's the one they've bought, and so then we'll see what happens.
Our side has lawyers too. I don't know.
We only have 3 judges on the Supreme Court.
3 or 4 lawyers that are Democrats. I'm pretty sure.
I know.
Mark Elias can be.
We've pushed our fundraising. Mark
Elias can be everywhere at once. So he's like Superman.
He is.
And
okay.
We also have Batman.
Nina, do you follow Mark Elias?
Batman.
Do you follow Mark Elias?
Ant-Man. No.
Mark's amazing. A must follow. Tell her about it, Eric. Tell her about him.
Well, if you follow Mark Elias, he's doing all this litigation at this super high level for voting rights for all Americans. And if you follow he's got the happiest little Twitter feed there, where it's like, every 48 minutes, he's like, wait, well, hold on. We have Supreme Court victory. Hold on. Pennsylvania Supreme Court. And you're like, okay, let's check it. It's okay. Maybe it's going to go our way. So it's like, Republicans got back down. Okay. Mob got back down. Got slapped down. Democrats win. These guys, they had to stay. Now that's blocked. It's done. So he's in the dozens and dozens of successes. So
okay,
that's where we're at.
I mean, I just think it's I agree. I think that we've got the fervor it's a referendum on the incumbent, and he doesn't have the support that he used to. but I still think that his enablers and supporters they're out there. They're little elves and hobgoblins, and they're all over the place. And hopefully,
but he doesn't have the
everybody's got their
core
eye
of the
on it.
Republican. He doesn't have the old core of the Republican Party, which he did have in 2016.
Because they're all in prison.
Well, the guys who are voting against him. It's too small a coalition he's got now. There's just no real way that he can do this in a convincing way. And even if he can cheat and steal his way through it, it's going to be so hard for him to rule. I mean, it's just going to, we'll have to descend into chaos, which may be part of the plan, but,
they love chaos.
But I'm with Nina.
That is the plan.
Let's keep it on the positive tip and keep the morale up. But the Arabs have a great saying: "Trust in God, but tie your camel." So I'm going to go. Let's all vote. Makes sense, right?
Been
around a while.
Have you talked about Omaha yet and what happened there?
No.
Can we talk about that? Because
Can we talk about Omaha, please?
Eric,
Yeah,
I know you've only got a few minutes.
Please let me do that.
Eric's only got a few minutes, so let's say, Eric, is there anything you want to say before you go, and then we'll.
All right, I'm so hungry.
Everybody, be cheerful. Like we're up by 20, and I heard we're down by 10 in all the swing states. To get all your friends to vote. Love you guys. Mwah.
You're the best, Eric. Thank you so much. Oh,
there he goes.
He had to go. So I'll put everyone back together. It's like a puzzle here. Sorry. Did you want to talk about Omaha?
Omaha. Tell us, Nina. Tell us about Omaha.
Well, it was a one-day story. And it's incredible that it was a one-day story. That they didn't, and it's so Trumpist that they didn't put up the money for the buses to come and get them.
Oh my
he
gosh,
just got on the plane and went home and left these people out there in the planes freezing. Now, are those people then going to go out and vote for him? Is the cult that? I mean, you probably all saw the Blair Erskine satire that she did within hours. It was hilarious.
It was amazing. Yeah. Very good.
I didn't see
but
that.
I think, yes, they will vote for him.
They forgive him for that. They forgive him for not putting up the money for buses to take them home.
Well, there's some excuse. There's someone else that they can blame for it. I had this saying in 2015, even before we even got to 2016, when he came out and I was like, oh, fuck, he's going to win, right? Because I knew what he was unearthing. And I was talking to my rabbi's wife at the time, and she was like, what? No. And I was like, no, you don't understand. There are two Americas. And there is the America that I actually was raised in the heart of the Bible Belt, right? It's deep Midwest, and by a preacher, right? So I'm telling you, there's a whole segment of our population where they could end up in their squatting on their own property because they don't own it anymore, in their backyard with only a Folgers can for an outhouse, right? And still vote for him if he got them in that situation, because they'd be like, they still would feel like their superior and their guy delivered them what they wanted, right? Even though they have nothing left. So there is that segment of the population. It's not as much as everyone wants it, that the media would want you to believe in terms of his base and his support. It's not even that big of a percentage of his base, but it is. They are there, and these are the folks who are willing to risk a pandemic, who are willing to go out in freezing weather and listen to him. They're the same people with the Folgers can, right? That's who they are. So they'll blame the bus company. They'll say the deep state did it. Somehow Hillary Clinton came in with her pantsuit and kept their bus from coming and picking them up. They're still going to vote for their guy. But you can't. All right, let's take all the people that have showed up at the rallies, right? Some of them probably bus to multiple rallies, some of them from Craigslist. That's not enough. Those aren't enough people to win an election, everybody. No. That's not enough.
I don't think so.
It's not.
But he said on in the Leslie Stahl interview that he has had bigger rallies than ever before. And she was like, no, you used to have bigger ones. And he insisted that was not true. Going back to what you were saying about the people that they're going to vote for him anyway, historically, speaking, going back centuries into Europe, the people that that rose up during the revolutionary years from the mid 18th century through the mid 19th century, whatever. They were the middle class. The very poorest people always stood by the king. Always. The king or the queen or the emperor or whoever could always reliably depend on the support of the lowest and the poorest, and ostensibly the person that should hate the king the most, because the person that had the least to gain. It was just a weird thing, but this tracks historically. The other thing about Omaha is, first of all, I don't know where. I know Nebraska's divvied up with it has electoral votes and it separates them, and I'm not sure if Omaha is part of the section of the state that will go to our side or how that actually works. But the other important point is this week, our people are in Florida. Kamala's going to Texas, right? Trump is in Nebraska. He's in fucking Nebraska. I mean, he thinks he needs to go there. That says something, that he feels the need to go there of all places. And it reminds me of the line from Unforgiven where we say, "Oh my God, little Bill, I thought you were dead." And he says, "No, I'm not dead. I'm only in Nebraska." I mean, the same can be said about his flagging campaign.
There's that doorbell again. Who could it be now? Who's going to be now? Oh, look at who's this? Hi, trick or treat.
Oh my God, I recognize the background.
Trick or treat. Who are you? It's
Guess from my voice.
It's Jill.
It's Jill. Jill, the very famous Jill Wine
Hi
Banks.
there.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Happy Halloween.
To you too. I'm wearing my Halloween pin and my vote pin because that's what we got to do today.
We got to do it. I assume
I
you
did
have.
today.
Have you done it?
That's amazing, Jill.
I voted.
If people don't know, they would know, they should know that you have been successfully prosecuting at least 2 presidents in your lifetime. And hopefully the second one is going to be as successful as the first one because it appears that way.
I hope that justice will be done in the end, that democracy will prevail, because that's what happened at the end of Watergate. We had democracy and justice, and that's what we need right now. I'm hoping for that.
Yeah, I mean, remind people, because during Watergate, it did feel like the world was coming to an end in some regards. I mean, it sort of felt like democracy was in great risk. And yet the nightmare came to an end, famously. And so remind people of what that process was like, and that this one might be a lot more like that than what some people fear.
Well, we had bipartisanship back then, and we had 3 networks and only 3 networks. And all 3 networks had the same facts. Those are 2 really big differences. We didn't live in bubbles. We all accepted facts. I was just watching interviews of people at a Trump rally, and they believe things are true that I absolutely have never seen one shred of evidence, anything that I could introduce in a court. And that's how I think. I think about facts and evidence as things that you can prove from a document, from something that you see, a photograph, but you can't just say things are something unless you can prove them. And yet the people standing in line at these rallies actually believe that. So that's of concern to me.
Yeah, I mean, certainly miss the days of having 3 broadcasters, but on the other hand, it is good to get a multitude of voices, and it's great to have things like Twitter and social media, and you get to hear so many voices. It's just unfortunate that many are just tuned into to Fox News.
If you listen with a careful ear, if you read with a careful eye, if you do some research, when I read a newspaper story and it says something, I click or research to find out if it's true. If someone says this is the best economy since whatever, I go and I check the numbers. If they say someone was indicted, I read the indictment. I don't rely on someone else telling me what it says. And I think that's something we all have to learn. We all have to learn to be more critical thinkers. It's the most important thing when you're deluged with different information. You have to be able to tell which is true and which isn't, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can
That's
I ask
unusual.
I did
Jill
a
a question?
whole 40,
Yeah, go ahead,
40
Jill.
minutes, on propaganda this morning, Jill. So it's like
Good girl. Yeah,
this is what we need going forward. We have to figure out what happened, and we've
exactly.
got to. Critical thinking is key. Go ahead,
Nina, you had a
I'm
question.
sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I wondered, Jill, if during Watergate, if you felt that the public was as equipped or more equipped to be critically thinking than the public is now.
Well, first of all, I think it was less critical that they be critical thinkers because the facts weren't in dispute. Now, where you have two completely different sets of information, you have to be able to evaluate the different sets of information. So it's more important. But I do think that facts mattered back then. You had Republicans who are the ones who went to the White House and said, President Nixon, we've seen the evidence, we've heard the tapes. You will be convicted on the charges of impeachment if you do not resign. And he resigned the next day. So there is a difference when you believe the facts, when you have the proof. And here you have proof. You had a vote in the Senate where, keep in mind, when Chief Justice Roberts, who was the presiding officer in that impeachment trial, he didn't say, is he impeachable or not? He said, is he guilty or not? And every single Republican had to answer, not guilty, even the ones who had said, yes, the evidence shows exactly what he's charged with, but I don't think it's impeachable. I'm not willing to impeach him for it. I'm willing to make a political judgment not to impeach, but to lie and say he's not guilty, that troubles me. And that's a big difference. So I think that's why, as I say, I think facts matter. And no one was listening to the facts during that trial.
Well, a lot of the facts couldn't come out, right? They couldn't call witnesses. Eyewitnesses are used to be the.
Sorry, my phone decided to talk to me.
Jill, this is something that has bothered me through this whole experience. We just had Noel Kessler on. I don't know if you were able to see us before you came to the door. But, Noel's an eyewitness. Noel saw things for years and then went to speak about it. And it was like this third rail no one could touch. And it used to be, I saw and heard things, right? That's why I'm here. It used to be that eyewitnesses were treated as a precious source of evidence, of facts. And so the Senate Mitch McConnell would not allow eyewitnesses to be called forward into that trial. I found that to be just a shocking sort of, we're not going to have evidence, right?
Well, there was, when Kavanaugh was being confirmed, there were eyewitnesses who wanted to come forward and they wouldn't let them. So there is, there's a history of that, but there was enough evidence presented without, yes, more would have been good, would have been better, but there was enough evidence in what we saw. And you had the Attorney General, and let's go back to Watergate, Attorney General Mitchell went to jail for his role. And that was the just and right thing to have happen. But here you have the Attorney General coming out and misrepresenting what a lengthy document, the Mueller report said. He said, nothing here, folks. You don't have to pay attention. There's no collusion. There's no obstruction. That is absolutely not what the document said. But that was the first impression. And people listening to Fox News never went beyond that. They believed that was the truth, and they didn't have to look any further. So there are still people who think that it was all nonsense. And, for example, I personally would like to see a full investigation of the blind repairman who supposedly got Hunter Biden's laptop. Because it had, if you've listened to Frank Figliuzzi, if you've listened to Malcolm Nance, if you've listened to any expert, it has every earmark of being Russian propaganda. And you're much more an expert on that than I am. But really, let's investigate it because it would show that it was totally phony. I would like to investigate the mailing that some producer did, sending it to California, where it arrived empty for Tucker Carlson. That is maybe the funniest thing I've ever heard. I actually ended up posting because someone said, well, that's a worse excuse than the dog ate my homework. And so I posted a picture.
Dog ate my compromise. Yeah. Great.
And Rudy Giuliani's out there saying he's got the child porn.
The what? I didn't hear you.
Rudy Giuliani's saying he's got the child porn from that drive, which means that's a crime. That's a crime.
That's a crime. No, if he's saying I've done this for a year.
Giuliani on the Borat film. Anybody seen that?
Jill, we've all seen it.
I'm dying to know what you thought of that film, Jill. You got to tell us what you thought.
Did you see it? Did you see the film?
I liked his first film a lot better than this one. I can't say that I would recommend the second one. It's just so gross. On the other hand,
the moon dance
Rudy Giuliani laying down on a bed and putting his hand down his pants, you can't make that up.
You can't. You can't.
You know, I can't unsee it. I would like to unsee it. But
we haven't spoken to you since the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and also this new Supreme Court justice that has just taken her position. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on Justice Ginsburg.
Well, I was devastated by her death. It would have been untimely if she had been 100 years old. And she was a great addition to the women's movement, to the movement for equality for all people, not just for women, but for every single person in America. And replacing her in a rush of this sort with the hypocrisy is just appalling to me. And I think that Republicans need to be held accountable for having rushed it through, for having said, you can't do that in an election year, 8 months before the election, but it's okay while the voting is already going on, because we control both, so it's okay. It isn't okay. It was wrong to do, and it's really devastating. And that's not even looking at what her jurisprudence is. It's just looking at that she joined in saying you cannot change the dimensions of the makeup of the court that close to an election. She said it. If she were a woman of moral values, she would live by that, and she would have said, I'm happy to accept this position after the election, but I cannot do it now. But she didn't, and I think that is, I think that's just wrong. And obviously Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell are really, but all Republicans who voted, it's just wrong. And I believe the president is the president until noon on January 20th, and that the president, Obama, should have had the power to appoint 8 months before, and then it would have been perfectly fair for Trump to appoint right now. But if you cheat someone out of the appointment of Merrick Garland, who was a centrist, he was not a liberal, he was so moderate. Remember that Obama actually got criticized by many Democrats for choosing someone who was so moderate. You know, why not pick someone liberal? But he chose someone moderate, and that person didn't get confirmed, and someone extreme right-wing gets confirmed now and totally changes the court. I now believe that court expansion or court balancing is something that is appropriate. I wouldn't have said that until I was on a panel recently with Dean Erwin Chemerinsky from UC Berkeley, and he said, because my argument was, you know, it's a bad precedent, and if we do it, then next time, if the Democrats aren't in control, the Republicans can do it, and eventually you'll have such a big court that it'll be ridiculous. And he said, you're right, the consequences of doing it are that could happen. The consequences of not doing it are that you have an extreme right-wing court with a 6-3 majority for the next 30 years. And that really got me and made me think, you know what? Fair is fair. And we can't keep letting Republicans change the rules midstream. Remember, they even changed the rules to vote because they had said you have to be there in person or you can't vote. Well, yeah. Except now you can. So
our military personnel. What does that say to our military personnel that's
Right.
overseas?
Yeah.
right.
What are they doing?
No, I was talking about they couldn't vote in the Senate for the confirmation.
Oh, I see. Okay. I thought you were talking
Yeah.
about the general vote. Okay.
Yeah,
You,
no.
Jill, you haven't met
that's
Greg,
true. That's
and I just want to say, Greg doesn't always look like this, by the way. He's dressed in his outfits tonight.
I look ridiculous, so I apologize.
So maybe
No, wonderful.
but it's a great costume, and he's really gone full tilt tonight. So,
Yeah.
Greg, do you have any questions for Jill?
I do. I have a question. You were speaking earlier about the differences between Watergate and now, and one of them is, of course, Fox News did not exist back then. These people going on air and lying when they know they're lying. It's one thing when it's about something dumb, but I feel like when it's about something important, such as coronavirus being real and the efficacy of wearing masks, that maybe there should be consequences. If you shout fire in a crowded room and there's no fire and someone gets hurt, you're liable for that. So is there any way that these people, Hannity and et al., can be held liable for what they're lying?
Well, you'd have to prove a direct link to that piece of information. I don't know. Remember back when AIDS was first becoming a real threat to the population? Laws were passed that said if you knowingly pass on AIDS to someone, you are liable. And so I've often wondered why, you couldn't use something like that law to say, if you hold a rally and people come and you don't require masks, you don't require social distancing, and someone gets coronavirus.
Intentionally packing them together. It's
Yes,
not just
exactly.
Well, we
Exactly.
can't control whether they have the
Right.
mask on or not. Well, you're controlling whether you're jamming them all together.
I know.
I agree with you completely. And what about all the people who were stranded in Nebraska? Some of those people had a hospital. They're trying to take away health care right now, the Republicans. And so who knows what those people have in terms of insurance and coverage. But don't you think the campaign is responsible? They brought them there.
Absolutely, I think they are, and I think you're right about there being a court case against Trump for these spreading events. Oh, the door's here. And I know, Nina, we've kept you a little longer than we should have tonight. So I'm going to say goodnight to Nina Burley, who also deserves a lot of credit for tackling the Trump women this last couple of years, and particularly this year. So Nina, thanks very much. I don't know if we can hear you. I can't hear you again. I've lost your voice.
Oh, we can't hear you again, Nina. Did you mute?
Hi, Nina.
We have audio problems with
Anyhow, there you go. Nina, thank you so
She's our
much. We
brave
appreciate it.
warrior.
We'll see you again soon. And sorry, I've never done this with so many people back and forth here. So we're going to try to do our best to maneuver this around.
Oh, she goes.
And
She's the greatest, Jill.
she really is
It's
fantastic.
Okay. You move around, Zev. We'll talk to Jill.
All right. Look, we have another guest though. So
Yes, we have to let the new guest in.
hello.
Oh, there
Hello.
we go.
It's Andrew Laufer, the amazing Andrew Laufer. Trick or treat. You look like you're dressed as Andrew Laufer tonight, Andrew.
I'm dressed a bit down tonight, yes.
You didn't wear an outfit for our special costume essential
No
party
suit
that we
and
had.
tie.
This is my civilian outfit, I suppose. No
Yeah.
suit or anything like that.
Have you met Jill Wine-Banks before?
I never have. I've never had the pleasure, and she's awesome, and I'm so glad she's here, and that's so cool that we're all hanging out together.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
You're in part of the legal profession too. He's one of the foremost civil rights lawyers that I know, certainly, in New York, and one of the biggest names on Twitter, and has been since the start of this Trump-Russia thing. You've really held the torch up for everybody right from the beginning. So, Andrew, congrats on that. And
Thank you.
It's been
I don't know
4
about
years.
that. There's some much bigger, I'm freezing a little bit here, but there's some much bigger names like Jill, for example, who is, a legend in the legal field. So, I'm happy enough just to be here on the same stage, so to speak, with her.
Now, you had some breaking news you said on Twitter, and I agree with you 100%. Jill, of course.
What?
Essentially, I was just told by a contact of mine that Trump, the campaign, just conferred with a top GOP outfit in an attempt to revive the campaign itself, because obviously they're doing very poorly. The private assessment, after they got their eyes and ears on with what was going on, was essentially, in a nutshell, Trump is finished. So it's a disaster. I mean, it's completely imploding. He's really just going to, from their perspective, there's just no.
He's not coming back.
There's nothing coming back. He's not going to be able to make it back at all.
Yeah.
He's out of money, you mean, or what do you mean?
He's out of money, and there's just really no path for him to victory. There was nothing that these people could do for him.
So you were speaking to a Republican strategist or a?
It was a Republican strategist
who Trump had called and said, "Help my campaign in the last mile here," and they said,
"The last 4 days,
nothing we can do for you, sir." Wow,
exactly.
It would be really hard, given that there's probably, at this point, almost as many votes cast by now as were cast in the entire 2016 election.
Yeah.
So we're really, it's very hard to undo that kind of voting. But I'm one of those people who will not rest.
No.
Oops.
Oh, we lost. Oh,
I pushed
Jill,
everyone to
you're breaking
capacity.
up.
Don't lose Jill.
Sorry.
Don't lose Jill.
Jill, come back. I think I
She's
can just.
our icon.
I feel like the gremlins are at it tonight. Like just when she says, "I will not rest."
To
that's
say
when
that
it
I'm
freezes.
pushing the system to its limits is an understatement tonight, but it felt like it was worthwhile doing. Jill, are you there? We've lost her. Oh,
that stinks.
It does, but you got to hear that bit of news. Let me go to the floor and see if we can get her back.
Okay, let's try to get her back. Here's where. There she is.
Oh, you're back.
We were just talking about what you were saying. You've been
good.
close for us for a while.
Welcome back.
Yes.
You're back.
We were all tragically. We were all in anxiety. Everybody's. I don't know if everyone feels this way, but I keep checking in with people and like, are you okay? Is everyone okay now?
Oh, we're frozen again.
It's so intense right now. Everything is so intense. Look, Jill keeps freezing up. It's so.
I know.
intense.
Maybe it's when I put her in the middle screen, so I'm going to try to not do that.
Put me in the
try
middle
that
screen.
again.
Or put
If
you
we
in the
get you
middle.
back, it'll be amazing, and we're thrilled if you
Freeze
do.
me so I can eat my pizza.
So you're not going to tell us who the person is, Andrew, I assume.
I can't tell you. I was asked not to mention it, but this is definitely something that just happened, and it's pretty ugly.
Who was the person who called? Can you say that?
I cannot. I get, I have a few people I deal with that, trust me with information and trust me with confidentiality. So I really can't mention those names.
Yeah,
Maybe one day.
you can't do it.
It's great to have that kind of insider take, because you've been watching people on TV all afternoon and they're like saying, guys, it's over. And I'm hesitant to believe it, but when you look at
be hesitant.
Yeah.
Be hesitant. Don't take anyone's word for it,
No, and don't listen to us. Go get out and vote. If you haven't voted yet, go.
And
Go
seriously,
vote.
yeah.
Don't
I mean,
listen to
anything
this.
can happen
Great.
between now and Tuesday, and we still, this election is not over yet. It would be
Until
great
it's
for
certified.
Texas.
Until it's certified, by the Electoral College. Until Biden, actually, we should just say this, until Biden's hand on the Bible. You're swearing.
Put it on that Lincoln's Bible. Put it on Lincoln's Bible.
Exactly.
Erase that
Joe,
thing.
There we go.
Biden's
exactly.
not going to use Lincoln's Bible.
Are you back, Jill? You
Yes,
are.
it is.
Yes.
Am I back?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't
Oh, you
do
froze
it.
again. Oh, no.
Okay,
No, it's okay.
I can't
It's
see.
okay. It's okay. Yeah, if you don't move too much, I think it might work. It's just I think the bandwidth is at capacity.
We got to put some more firewood into the furnace.
The internet, yeah.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and talk. I'll keep us in a separate. I'll put you in a separate smaller box. It'll be easier to handle the bandwidth. But go ahead. I think we can hear you.
We can.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
well, what I was saying was I could hear part of what you were saying, and I agree that what we have to do is just keep working until January 20th. Until that happens, there's a lot that can go wrong between, even assuming, let's say, a week after November 3rd, we know the results. There's a lot of danger lurking in that time period, and we have to stay alert, and no one should say, well, we got it in the bag, I'm not going to vote. Every vote really counts. I think we learned that the last time. People who stayed at home are the reason that Hillary Clinton isn't the president. So
Yeah.
everybody has to go and vote. I've never felt better about casting a ballot than I did this time. It really felt important. And I'm still making phone calls into Wisconsin, which is my neighboring state, and one that is much more promising. I mean, Illinois, I feel safe, but Wisconsin, it could make a difference. Michigan, it could make a difference. Iowa.
So you're phone banking? Are you phone banking?
Yes.
Wine banks?
Yes. And
What's that like for you? What's that like?
Well, it's not as much fun as knocking on doors. I love knocking on doors and talking to people and engaging with them. I'm calling into some of the call centers to encourage phone bankers. This is obviously a get out the vote, because that's really what this comes down to. This is what is the turnout? That's going to make the difference between winning and losing. And so we need to encourage people to vote. Voting
and down ballots. I mean, it's great if Biden wins the presidency, but we have an entire Senate that we could take.
It's not just the Senate. It is every local race. The state legislature is going to be deciding districting. And so, that's really important. Who is and remember, you were talking about the Electoral College. If there were, by some miracle, a tie, it goes to the Congress, and every state has one vote. That means that Montana, Wyoming, and California have the same number of votes. California has 400 million people. Those states have 400,000, and they both get equal rate. And there are 26 Republican states. Now, they're teeny states with small population, but they would carry the vote. 26 is all that would be needed. So,
really?
Think about
are there 26 solid Republican states? That's right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Someone needs to fix that. We made there's a little bit of an issue.
Races matter. That's why it matters. Yeah. And of course, Amy Coney Barrett was confirmed because the Republicans control the Senate. And so we need to make sure. And Wilbur Ross, who clearly has some conflict of interest, was confirmed because
we found out, Jill's saying this, we found out just like today or yesterday that Wilbur Ross has been being paid by a Chinese company on their payroll all the way into 2019. 2019.
Exactly.
Horrible.
Exactly. Well, hey, look at the Trump Hotel in Washington, D.C. Look at how much money he's made from foreign people staying at his hotel, which on its own is wrong because the lease from the government said no one who works for the government can benefit from this. Well, I guess you could argue he's not working for the government because he's not working, but he is he is theoretically working for the government and shouldn't be able to benefit from that, right?
Absolutely.
That's right.
I mean, Olivia Chow's the other one that is it Olivia Chow? Is that her name?
Yes.
The transport secretary who is married to McConnell and is
Elaine
Chao.
Elaine Chao.
And who's pocketing so much money based on his votes. And another interesting connection to China. There was another mention today of Lev Levayev's contact. Lev Levayev is a Israeli diamond guy, but is very connected to China and very connected to Trump and Jared. And it turns out that those FinCEN papers included about $250 million of interesting transactions, flagged transactions to LLCs that we're not quite sure who the LLC owners are, but connected to Trump, connected to Kushner, and to China. I mean, who knows where the money was swimming in that?
Right, Phil? Follow the money.
It's the same old thing. Follow the money. Yep, for sure. And what did the president know, and when did he know it? Those phrases will stay in our memory because they keep being relevant. And following the money here is really, more relevant. The following the money there was a very narrow use of following the money. It was because the burglars had $100 bills on them that were the result of cashing a campaign check in one of their bank accounts. And so it would have shown immediately that the White House and the campaign had paid for the burglary. And that's why they didn't want to follow it. But this is a much broader follow the money for sure.
This is much bigger, trillions of dollars potentially. Andrew, do you have any other questions for Jill? Because I know we're running out of time here, but so much
There's
fun.
that. She's awesome. I'm glad she's here, and it's cool to be on the same stage as her. And you know, she's 100. I mean, I concur with everything she's saying. It's a no-brainer. Follow the money. I mean, that's what it really comes down to.
It does. The other money I'm also interested in following is the Epstein money. And did you see today that Leon Black of Apollo, yesterday in his big meeting with the shareholders, he said that there were other people who he could name, but he wasn't going to name them, who Epstein's managed their money. And he said, I'm sorry if some of you are not going to hear this as I switch screens here, but he said it included a U.S. Treasury Secretary, heads of state, several, Nobel laureates, and prominent philanthropists. So I can try some of these. I certainly know who the Secretary of the Treasury was. I bet you, LB, you can get that one. The Secretary of the Treasury would be Lawrence Summers, I think.
Okay. Is
Lawrence
it Larry?
Larry. It must be Larry, right?
Yeah, it's got to be Larry, who was also world banking it up, and then over in Russia in the 90s with Bill Clinton and helping them get all their flight capital.
Heads of state would be Ferdinand Marcos and maybe Donald Trump. Who knows? Maybe
That's from Manafort too. Manafort Day. We have to say his name with the proper Italian pronunciation of his name.
Philanthropists, I don't know who that would be. Wexner, I guess.
Yeah.
And I had one other, but anyway, I promised people I would tell people who that was. The Queen, maybe even, was one of the people rumored that Epstein managed her money, but who knows if that's true.
We need to get into those Jersey Isles, and I think that this is such a side tangent for everybody away from our election, but it is going to come back around and really impact us. So the Jersey Isles, not New Jersey. What New Jersey?
Not New Jersey, hey.
Not New Jersey. Tony.
It's your cue.
Sopranos does not take place in the United Kingdom.
That's right. It's not the DeCalicantes. So the Jersey Isles, which is off the British, part of Great Britain, that has been a offshore laundromat for a very long time, and it does look like a lot of the Queen's money is in there, and it does look like Jeffrey Epstein was in there with Andrew setting stuff up. So we're going to be
interesting to see how well that lands. Yeah. I'm going to say goodnight because I think it's time, and I can't handle this. My eyes, this mask sticking into my eyes. So if I can't because I can't ruin the illusion, and also I'll lose my powers.
Zev, you wore a mask the entire time, and it's the wrong kind of mask. I
know. I was going to say, what mask?
Not doing you any good.
I know. Well,
it does not prevent COVID.
At least I'm supporting masks. Have a good night, everybody. I think the big message from tonight is vote regardless, because
vote.
Everyone's life really depends on this, and everyone's future really depends on this, and the future of our democracy depends on it. And it's been fun to recognize a lot of people tonight, including Jill and Andrew and everyone who's on the show on a such regular basis. Because it really was a much bigger group of people at the end of the day. There's thousands of people who contributed in the last 4 years to people understanding exactly what Donald Trump is, understanding exactly what kind of crimes he's been involved in, and exactly what kind of influence he has had to put us in this enormously risky situation where our entire democracy has been at risk. So I can't mention names because there's just so many. But we love you all, and you've done such great work. And I really hope everyone continues to do what we need to do to make sure this man goes away, and we have a peaceful transition, which is, of course, the American tradition. So good night, everybody. Have a great Halloween and great voting. Any last thoughts for anybody?
Just thank you for doing this and for the fun of Halloween. I love Halloween costumes, and thank you for the message of voting. That is important.
It is important.
Without question.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us on Narativ Live.
Thanks for having me, Zev.
Bye.
Bada boom, bada bing.
That was so